Chapter 10. The Family Tree of Noah's Sons. This is the family tree of the sons of Noah: Shem, Ham, and Japheth. After the flood, they themselves had sons. The sons of Japheth: Gomer, Magog, Madai, Javan, Tubal, Meshech, Tiras. The sons of Gomer: Ashkenaz, Riphath, Togarmah. The sons of Javan: Elisha, Tarshish, Kittim, Rodanim. The seafaring peoples developed from these, each in its own place by family, each with its own language. The sons of Ham: Cush, Egypt, Put, Canaan. The sons of Cush: Seba, Havilah, Sabta, Ra'amah, Sabteka. The sons of Ra'amah: Sheba, Dedan. Cush also had Nimrod. He was the first great warrior on earth. He was a great hunter before God. There was a saying, like Nimrod, a great hunter before God. His kingdom got its start with Babel, then Erech, Akkad, and Calneh in the country of Shinar. From there he went up to Asher and built Nineveh, Rehoboth-ur, Calah, and Resen between Nineveh and the great city Calah. Egypt was ancestor to the Ludim, the Anamim, the Leabim, the Naphtahim, the Pathrusim, the Casluhim, the origin of the Philistines, and the Caphtorim. Canaan had Sidon, his firstborn, Heth, the Jebusites, the Amorites, the Girgashites, the Hivites, the Arkites, the Sinites, the Arvadites, the Zemarites, and the Hamathites. Later, the Canaanites spread out, going from Sidon toward Gerar, as far south as Gaza, and then east, all the way over to Sodom, Gomorrah, Admah, Zeboim, and on to Lasha. These are the descendants of Ham by family, language, country, and nation. Shem, the older brother of Japheth, also had sons. Shem was ancestor to all the children of Eber. The sons of Shem: Elam, Asher, Arphaxad, Lud, and Aram. The sons of Aram: Uz, Hol, Gether, Meshech. Arphaxad had Shelah, and Shelah had Eber. Eber had two sons: Peleg, so named because in his days the human race divided, and Joktan. Joktan had Elmodad, Sheleph, Hazar-Mavath, Jirah, Hedoram, Uzal, Diklah, Obal, Abimiel, Sheba, Ophir, Havilah, and Jobab, all sons of Joktan. Their land goes from Mesha towards Sephar, as far as the mountain ranges in the east. These are the descendants of Shem by family, language, country, and nation. This is the family tree of the sons of Noah as they developed into nations. From them, nations developed all across the earth after the flood. Chapter 11. God turned their language into Babel. At one time, the whole earth spoke the same language. It so happened that as they moved out of the east, they came upon a plain in the land of Shinar and settled down. They said to one another, "Come, let's make bricks and fire them well." They used brick for stone and tar for mortar. Then they said, "Come, let's build ourselves a city and a tower that reaches heaven. Let's make ourselves famous so we won't be scattered here and there across the earth." God came down to look over the city and the tower those people had built. God took one look and said, "One people, one language. Why, this is only a first step. No telling what they'll come up with next. They'll stop at nothing. Come, we'll go down and garble their speech so they won't understand each other." Then God scattered them from there all over the world, and they had to quit building the city. That's how it came to be called Babel, because there God turned their language into Babel. From there, God scattered them all over the world. This is the story of Shem. When Shem was 100 years old, he had Arphaxad. It was 2 years after the flood. After he had Arphaxad, he lived 500 more years and had other sons and daughters. When Arphaxad was 35 years old, he had Shelah. After Arphaxad had Shelah, he lived 403 more years and had other sons and daughters. When Shelah was 30 years old, he had Eber. After Shelah had Eber, he lived 403 more years and had other sons and daughters. When Eber was 34 years old, he had Peleg. After Eber had Peleg, he lived 430 more years and had other sons and daughters. When Peleg was 30 years old, he had Reu. After he had Reu, he lived 209 more years and had other sons and daughters. When Reu was 32 years old, he had Serug. After Reu had Serug, he lived 207 more years and had other sons and daughters. When Serug was 30 years old, he had Nahor. After Serug had Nahor, he lived 200 more years and had other sons and daughters. When Nahor was 29 years old, he had Terah. After Nahor had Terah, he lived 119 more years and had other sons and daughters. When Terah was 70 years old, he had Abram, Nahor, and Haran. The family tree of Terah. This is the story of Terah. Terah had Abram, Nahor, and Haran. Haran had Lot. Haran died before his father, Terah, in the country of his family, Ur of the Chaldees. Abram and Nahor each got married. Abram's wife was Sarai. Nahor's wife was Milcah, the daughter of his brother Haran. Haran had 2 daughters, Milcah and Iscah. Sarai was barren. She had no children. Terah took his son Abram, his grandson Lot, Haran's son, and Sarai, his daughter-in-law, his son Abram's wife, and set out with them from Ur of the Chaldees for the land of Canaan. But when they got as far as Haran, they settled down there. Terah lived 205 years. He died in Haran. Chapter 12. Abram and Sarai. God told Abram, "Leave your country, your family, and your father's home for a land that I will show you. I will make you a great nation and bless you. I'll make you famous. You'll be a blessing. I'll bless those who bless you. Those who curse you, I'll curse. All the families of the earth will be blessed through you." So Abram left just as God said, and Lot left with him. Abram was 75 years old when he left Haran. Abram took his wife Sarai and his nephew Lot with him, along with all the possessions and people they had gotten in Haran, and set out for the land of Canaan, and arrived safe and sound. Abram passed through the country as far as Shechem and the oak of Moreh. At that time, the Canaanites occupied the land. God appeared to Abram and said, "I will give this land to your children." Abram built an altar at the place God had appeared to him. He moved on from there to the hill country east of Bethel, and pitched his tent between Bethel to the west and Ai to the east. He built an altar there and prayed to God. Abram kept moving, steadily making his way south to the Negev. Then a famine came to the land. Abram went down to Egypt to live. It was a hard famine. As he drew near to Egypt, he said to his wife Sarai, "Look, we both know that you're a beautiful woman. When the Egyptians see you, they're going to say, 'Ha ha, that's his wife,' and kill me. But they'll let you live. Do me a favor, tell them you're my sister. Because of you, they'll welcome me and let me live." When Abram arrived in Egypt, the Egyptians took one look and saw that his wife was stunningly beautiful. Pharaoh's princes raved over her to Pharaoh. She was taken to live with Pharaoh. Because of her, Abram got along very well. He accumulated sheep and cattle, male and female donkeys, men and women servants, and camels. But God hit Pharaoh hard because of Abram's wife, Sarai. Everybody in the palace got seriously sick. Pharaoh called for Abram. "What's this that you've done to me? Why didn't you tell me that she's your wife? Why did you say she's my sister so that I'd take her as my wife? Here's your wife back. Take her and get out." Pharaoh ordered his men to get Abram out of the country. They sent him and his wife and everything he owned on their way. Chapter 13. So Abram left Egypt and went back to the Negev, he and his wife and everything he owned, and Lot still with him. By now, Abram was very rich, loaded with cattle and silver and gold. He moved on from the Negev. camping along the way to Bethel, the place he had first set up his tent between Bethel and Ai, and built his first altar. Abram prayed there to God. Lot, who was traveling with Abram, was also rich in sheep and cattle and tents, but the land couldn't support both of them. They had too many possessions. They couldn't both live there. Quarrels broke out between Abram's shepherds and Lot's shepherds. The Canaanites and Perizzites were also living on the land at the time. Abram said to Lot, "Let's not have fighting between us, between your shepherds and my shepherds. After all, we're family. Look around. Isn't there plenty of land out there? Let's separate. If you go left, I'll go right. If you go right, I'll go left." Lot looked. He saw the whole plain of the Jordan spread out, well watered. This was before God destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah, like God's garden, like Egypt, and stretching all the way to Zoar. Lot took the whole plain of the Jordan. Lot set out to the east. That's how they came to part company, uncle and nephew. Abram settled in Canaan. Lot settled in the cities of the plain and pitched his tent near Sodom. The people of Sodom were evil, flagrant sinners against God. After Lot separated from him, God said to Abram, "Open your eyes, look around, look north, south, east, and west. Everything you see, the whole land spread out before you, I will give to you and your children forever. I'll make your descendants like dust. Counting your descendants will be as impossible as counting the dust of the earth. So, on your feet, get moving. Walk through the country, its length and breadth. I'm giving it all to you." Abram moved his tent. He went and settled by the oaks of Mamre in Hebron. There, he built an altar to God. Chapter 14. Then this: Amraphel, king of Shinar, Arioch, king of Elisar, Chedorlaomer, king of Elam, and Tidal, king of Goyim, went off to war to fight Bera, king of Sodom, Bersha, king of Gomorrah, Shinab, king of Admah, Shemeber, king of Zeboim, and the king of Bela, that is, Zoar. This second group of kings, the attacked, came together at the valley of Siddim, that is, the Salt Sea. They had been under the thumb of Chedorlaomer for 12 years. In the 13th year, they revolted. In the 14th year, Chedorlaomer and the kings allied with him set out and defeated the Rephaim in Ashtaroth Karnaim, the Zuzim in Ham, the Emim in Sheba Kiriathaim, and the Horites in their hill country of Seir, as far as El Paran, on the far edge of the desert. On their way back, they stopped at En Mishpat, that is, Kadesh, and conquered the whole region of the Amalekites, as well as that of the Amorites, who lived in Hazazon Tamar. That's when the king of Sodom marched out with the king of Gomorrah, the king of Admah, the king of Zeboim, and the king of Bela, that is, Zoar. They drew up in battle formation against their enemies in the valley of Siddim, against Chedorlaomer, king of Elam, Tidal, king of Goyim, Amraphel, king of Shinar, and Arioch, king of Elisar. 4 kings against 5. The valley of Siddim was full of tar pits. When the kings of Sodom and Gomorrah fled, they fell into the tar pits, but the rest escaped into the mountains. The 4 kings captured all the possessions of Sodom and Gomorrah, all their food and equipment, and went on their way. They captured Lot, Abram's nephew who was living in Sodom at the time, taking everything he owned with them. A fugitive came and reported to Abram the Hebrew. Abram was living at the oaks of Mamre, the Amorite, brother of Eshcol and Aner. They were allies of Abram. When Abram heard that his nephew had been taken prisoner, he lined up his servants, all of them born in his household, there were 318 of them, and chased after the captors all the way to Dan. Abram and his men split into small groups and attacked by night. They chased them as far as Hobah, just north of Damascus. They recovered all the plunder along with nephew Lot and his possessions, including the women and the people. After Abram returned from defeating Chedorlaomer and his allied kings, the king of Sodom came out to greet him in the valley of Sheva, the king's valley. Melchizedek, king of Salem, brought out bread and wine. He was priest of the high God, and blessed him. Blessed be Abram by the high God, creator of heaven and earth, and blessed be the high God who handed your enemies over to you. Abram gave him 1/10 of all the recovered plunder. The king of Sodom said to Abram, "Give me back the people, but keep all the plunder for yourself." But Abram told the king of Sodom, "I swear to God, the high God, creator of heaven and earth, this solemn oath, that I'll take nothing from you, not so much as a thread or a shoestring. I'm not going to have you go around saying, 'I made Abram rich.' Nothing for me other than what the young men ate and the share of the men who went with me, Aner, Eshcol, and Mamre. They are to get their share of the plunder.